Hello, my friend, and welcome to Suwinyattichaiporn, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is a Celebs mental health podcast where I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same mantra as me, then whether you're watching or listening, click that subscribe button, leave a little follow and a comment, and let's get on the word. It's okay to not be okay. Now, let me tell you about my guest today. My guest today, her CV is bigger than my relationships. And I've not had any relationships, but still, if I was to have relationships all the way through the 30 years that I've been alive, it still would not be enough for all the jobs she has had. Now, we've already had Paul C. Brunson and Anna Williamson on 100 times on this podcast, but you've not heard from her yet. Now, she's the third musketeer, and she's coming together, and we can see her on Celebs Go Dating on E4 right now, giving the most incredible advice. And look at this as her CV. A dating agent, a sexpert, a women's health economist, a professor at California State University in human communication, a Love Bites podcast. I mean, I could keep going on, but you want to hear from her. It's Dr. Tara. Hello, Dr. T.
Hello, how's it going?
Very good, thank you. What a busy time at the moment it is for you.
Yeah, very busy, but I always make sure to have an orgasmic day.
Actually, straight in there with the sex. Straight in there. How do you balance it all though? Like when you're thinking, right, I'm contracted to Celebs Go Dating, I've got to be filming that, but I've got a column to do here, I've got a podcast to do there, I need to go and make a couple of TikToks. There's a lot going on. So how does your schedule look for that?
I think I'm really good at prioritizing and using my Google Calendar. Like every time I show my Google Calendar to any of my team members, they are overwhelmed by it. But I am energized by my Google Calendar. And one of the things that I actually wanted to talk about when I saw that the theme of this podcast was like talking about it's okay not to be okay. I think, we live in a world where there's so much narrative about like needing to have like work-life balance. But I disagree with that. I disagree because I love what I do. And to me, work isn't work. And therefore, there isn't a need to escape or a need to like, oh my gosh, I need to relax or balance. Like work is relaxing for me. And therefore, for me, doing the work that I love is energizing.
But then when it comes to sex, for example, and you're having your moment, and you're a lady and I'm a gentleman, so we're not going into the nitty-gritty of it. But when you're having your moment, are you not subconsciously thinking, right, that's a really good article, or I've read about this, I need to try it out because that can form part of another thing that I need to talk about at some point?
In the moment, as in like when I'm orgasming.
I love that you're saying these words. And I'm like, oh, she said the word. Yeah, but just in general, when it comes to sexy
Come
time,
on, Johnny, don't
sometimes
be so British.
like when you're in the moment, are you not thinking, oh, like, hold on a minute, please wait, no, don't finish yet. Do the edging, which is what you talk about. Hold on, I just need to write this down quickly. Stay there. Don't you dare finish. I just need to write it down.
Oh my gosh. I enjoy the interpretation of me that you do than what I experience. No, actually, when I enjoy sex, I completely give in and focus on that. I focus on my body, the sensations. I focus on my partner, giving him pleasure. I don't think about work when I have sex. But afterwards, sometimes I reflect and I go, oh, let's say if we're trying a different toy or if we're doing anal after not doing it for a while, then I might reflect and think, okay, like I learned a couple things during that session that I'm gonna write about or like I'm gonna make a video about. So yeah, like it's quite intertwined, but I would say in the moment I try to focus on just the sensations and giving my partner pleasure.
I find that really interesting because, as guys, we go, oh, just had a bit of post-nut clarity there, a bit of PNC. Oh, and then you're like, excellent, let's do some evaluations here. Let's think
Yeah.
the bad and what we can do better next time. Whereas we're going, stay away, stay away.
A lot of people actually ask my husband if it's a lot of pressure to be with me. And he's like, no, it's actually quite beneficial. I know that sex is very important. So I never put it in the back burner. Like I always focus on our sexual well-being and making sure that we prioritize pleasure.
But that's when you're in a relationship. But what about when you're starting a relationship? We look at the apps at the moment, and it's that thing of right, you need to be really out there and you need to be really bold with your statements. And then, you have the deep conversation, then the sexual kind of chemistry comes through. And then some people are like, no, we're not talking about anything to do with that yet. Well, I've not even met you yet. And then others are like, no, let's keep flirting. Let's do a FaceTime, let's send pictures, because that's all part of the process. And there's like two lines of thought there of, do you keep it private until the moment's right, or do you go openly with that because that is important to you, like you say?
That is an accurate observation of our society right now is, we have two groups of people mainly when it comes to involving sexual conversation in early dating. And like you said, one group is very much like, oh, this is private, or like I'll talk about it after like 5 dates, or they have this arbitrary number, like I'll have sex with them after 5 dates. I'm like, who came up with that? Like, who came up with the number?
Is that not a
um
thing then? Because I've always heard, right, 6 date rule. Date one is the drink. Date two is drink and activity. Date three is dinner. Date four is an experience. Then date five, you can invite them back. Don't do anything. Then date six is when you know, get a bit Dr. Tara on them.
Doesn't that sound so robotic and methodical? Do
Correct.
you falling in love is a very natural process. And when we insert too much of the rationalization and the methods and the rules and the regulations, I think it becomes very robotic and on paper rather than based on intuition and the true understanding of human connection and chemistry. So I used to be the person that has like a whole checklist on my notes on my phone. And if I go on a date, I ask all the questions and then make sure that the person checks every box. And that was a huge mistake. I was married before in my early 20s, and that's how I got into that marriage or that relationship from the first place, was using that paper, having lots of rules and regulations, a lot of rationalization of what a relationship should look like, or what is a relationship success? What does it look like? What does it feel like? So I was using that for a long time. Got married to the first person I met on Tinder. That marriage failed because I wasn't following my intuition. I wasn't following, the true sense of love and affection and connection. I was just trying to find a perfect husband. And he's a perfect man, not for me. After that, I learned a huge lesson that my life very much felt like quite empty, even though I had everything that I needed externally. A beachfront house, trips to Greece, all the whatever the women want, like bags, purses, shoes. I had everything that was external, yet I was quite unhappy. And I have actually said that to him a couple of times throughout our marriage, and that like I felt like something wasn't here. And I think he tried really hard to help me feel more content through, trips and gifts and whatnot. But yeah, we just weren't meant to be together, and we were not sexually compatible. We didn't have that kind of chemistry. And I learned a big lesson to follow your intuition. And now with my current husband, I followed my intuition. He did not check half the boxes I have, but I was following my intuition, and we grew together. And also, fun fact, we had sex on the first date, and here we are, years later, and married and very passionate and happy. So for me, it's all about understanding what your body is telling you. And I think that in the Western world, we don't focus on that enough. Somatic therapy and somatic understanding of human experience.
I really like that idea that there's kind of the want and the need. So, like you say with your list, there's all the wants, and it's that tick list, and it's the idea that you're supposed to know exactly what you want. But sometimes, and this is probably where my breakdown for is, I know what my type is, right? And people will say, "Oh no, you can't have that type," or "Oh, this is out your reach," whatever. And then there's the actual need. But I feel like you can't tell yourself what the needs are. That comes in time. It's yes, you can go in with the wants, but the wants become the needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you totally learn because yeah, I had all those like wants on my checklist, but then yet like what I actually need and what I value is sexual connection from the get-go.
Yeah.
Did not have that with my first husband, and totally was prepared to compromise not having it forever because it was a quote unquote perfect relationship. Yeah, so I just thought, I'll just be a great trophy wife and, have this perfect marriage. But no, it failed, and I was actually a lot of times quite sad, in fact. And it's interesting to think that you can have everything physically, yet like, internally, there's like turmoil. And a lot of people think, oh, boo-hoo, princess has everything, yet she doesn't feel good enough for, like, doesn't feel content enough or good enough about her life. And until you experience it, you don't really know. And I never, that's why I think I'm very non-judgmental towards like anybody's experiences, because you could seemingly look like you have everything, yet you can feel so much void and empty on the inside. So for me, knowing that I value sexual connection like top three, the next relationship, I was really listening to my body and focusing on what type of sexual connection can I establish with my date. And yeah, with my now husband, we had that connection like from the get-go. And so it's so much easier to maintain and develop this relationship because we've always been like into each other.
Well, there's something really interesting there you've picked up on is that, and what we always talk about is your physical health and your mental health. Go to the gym, go to therapy. But there's also the financial wealth standard, but
Yeah.
also the sexual health. And I think when we talk about sexual health, usually it's to do with STDs and it's to do with
Mhm.
chlamydia and the negative connotations to sexual health, rather than celebrating sexual health or going, that's a need. And it's also something that's very humanistic, and also, it's absolutely fine to enjoy sex or to enjoy porn, for example. And, we look at the way the world is changing with AI now. And we're not just talking about, the idea of AI therapy, but there's now this whole world where you can AI sex. And that whole connotation of, if that's what someone's need is, that is absolutely fine. And yet, I feel like as a society, maybe it's a Western society, we've put such a stigma on that now,
Mhm.
and there's no return. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a girl this week on an app, and I said to her, she said,
Was it
"Oh,
an AI girl?
I wish I would have got further." So I said, I made a joke, and she went, "Oh, you're being cocky." I think I said I was going to be the best date of your life, whatever. She went, "You're being cocky." I said, "Don't talk about my cock. You've not met me yet, you tit." And she really got offended by that. And I thought that was so quick-witted and funny from me. And it
It
gave
is funny.
a nice vibe. It made it a bit sexual, made it a bit flirty, and had a bit of taking the mickey out there. And yet you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't make comments like that. But you're like, well, no, that's part of the sexual health, and that's absolutely okay.
It's a shame that that person, gave you that kind of negative reaction to shame you for being comfortable with sexual communication. I totally understand when people say like sometimes it's too much and sometimes people use it as deflection. For example, on Celebs Go Dating, this series, we have Chris Taylor, who is a renowned person for dick jokes and whatnot. And, when he goes on dates, he uses a lot of sex jokes on the dates in order to deflect from some of the questions that his dates ask that are deeper in nature, like something that's more personal that he didn't want to answer, then he'll answer with a dick joke. So in that sense, I think it is a defense mechanism. However, what you just described to me is like just a cheeky little comment, right? Like she could have said like ha ha witty or whatever. Like she didn't need to like shame you for being comfortable with your sexuality. So I think there is a balance in the world that we need in terms of the ability to talk about sex openly and unapologetically, as well as knowing like you can't just use like sex jokes to defend yourself and not, get deep and personal with other people.
And where does that come from for you? Growing up in an Asian household in America, where I presume you've got kind of a clash of the cultures there of your Asian parents being very traditional and then the American Western world of Americanization being very open. Where for you, Dr. Tar, did you start where you went, right, I'm very comfortable within myself. I'm comfortable around my parents. However, there's this naughty side of me that I need to explore. And I'm going to not just explore myself, but I'm also going to be very open with it with everyone else about it. And then go and do a TED talk and then talk about it in conferences.
Yeah, I actually grew up in Bangkok.
Oh,
I
did
grew up in
you?
Thailand. Yeah.
You've done Thailand, America, England. You've gone literally all the way around the world.
And Finland. I went to high school in Finland.
Oh, I can't keep up. I mean, look, I told you your CV is big. I didn't realize I've got to do the next part of the CV as well.
It really allows me to be very sexually open. Like, you cannot tell me anything that will make me feel like shocked. One of my clients has always been invited to this like summer yacht party that is all like nude, and they do like have, you know, sound bath and energy work and like orgasmic meditation work, fingering. They hire like workers to like come finger the women if they want, and they can engage in like consensual orgy at night if they want. And it's just, to me, fascinating because I've been to a lot of play parties, sex parties, but it's all like on land, like it's in a club and there's multiple rooms, multiple beds. You can engage with other people. You don't have to, you can just engage with your partner, your spouse, like in a separate room. So there's a lot more like boundaries involved, and people can like come and go whenever they want. But this one was one of my clients had me prepare him like mentally before he went on. Was very interesting because it's only 20 people, and it's all like 20 like-minded people that are very open-minded, very sexually open, sex positive. They're all on like creative entrepreneurs. And yeah, they just did like a 7-day yacht trip. That's like, he ended up having sex with almost everybody on the yacht. And to me, that's quite fascinating because then you have to see the same people over and over for 7 days versus like a sex party. You like see them once.
And with your TV brain on, we've obviously got Celebs Go Dating, which is entry level of have therapy, go on a date. But then you've had Naked Attraction. Then you've got Dating Naked UK, which is on Paramount Plus at the moment, which is,
Hmm.
like you say, they're all just nude, but they're not going for sex. They're just talking about being very comfortable in their own skin. And I've got one of the amazing girls, Lauren, on the podcast in a couple of weeks talking about it. And then you've got Too Hot to Handle, where they do the workshops around that. And Brendan does these workshops all around orgasms. But what we haven't had yet is bringing that all together. And I don't know if it is legal to show that on TV. But what do you think with your TV head of going to that level of that yacht experience almost becoming a TV show where it's an educational tool slash entertainment, but in the mainstream and having those conversations out loud?
I would be supportive of that because I think the more we can normalize consensual, pleasurable sex, the better for society because there's too much shame right now. And people are very uncomfortable with themselves and their sexuality, and they aren't able to let go. Sex is one of the top issues that long-term couples have, that married couples have. Sexless marriage becomes such like a household vocabulary at this point. A lot of divorces were, you know, the cause was sexless marriage. So if sex is such an epidemic, what is the root cause, or what's the deep issue here? And if we kind of pull back the curtain, we can understand like it's a societal cultural issue. And I think mass media plays a big role in changing the narrative of societal cultural issues. Think of when we were kids, like we've never seen trans people on TV, right? When I mean, I'm in my 30s too. When I was a kid, I've never seen trans people on TV. And now we often see trans people on TV, which is great representation. So for me, like mass media has a huge role in normalizing what's good, what's not good. And therefore, if they want to take part of this, you know, sex positive cultural narrative, they should push the envelope a little bit.
Amazing, amazing, and so true. Now, look, we talked about TV a little bit. Let's go into Celebs Go Dating world
Hmm.
because I love Celebs Go Dating. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. For you, who came into it, so talk to me about how it started because obviously we had the Nadia and Eden days, then Paul came in, then Anna came in. We can say that out loud. I mean, Nadia's a very good friend of mine, but through the journey, you know, it got to season 12 where they went, right, we don't want just two anymore, we want three. So then you come in. What was the conversation like for you behind the scenes of do you want to join this agency? And also it's a TV show, but for the first time we're gonna have three agents, not two anymore.
We went through a process of like audition and screen test. So um it's funny because before this TV show, I have done like like morning news, like short segments on TV, like tips for Valentine's Day, tips for cuffing season, things like that. So I've never done long form like TV shows. This is my first one, but Yeah, the journey started with a casting director reaching out to me and was like, "Hello, Dr. Tara, love your social media. Are you interested in being on TV?" And I was like, I mean, yeah, like depends on what kind of opportunity, whether or not it fits like what I value and what my role would be and how much time commitment because I am a professor, I have to be teaching. At first, we did like a whole thing like a whole what is I don't even know what it's called like an interview but an audition at the same time where they like cut it up and make it like a
A
short
taste, a
video about the
taster tape,
person.
a
Yeah,
taster tape,
something
a sizzle.
that shows you how much I don't know about TV. Like basically that's what they did and it was supposed to be I think for a different show. And then I didn't hear from her I think a couple months and then she reached back out to me and then she said, "Dr. Tara, I have a very interesting opportunity. This is an existing show that's very popular in the UK and they're looking to expand their expert pool. So, would you be interested in auditioning?" And I said, "Sure." So I got on Zoom and did the same thing. They asked me more questions about like how like what do you think about celebrities? Like how would you then advise celebrities on these things? For me, it's easy because I do my private practice is in LA, and a lot of my clients are celebrities and high profile business people. So I just do what I do, like a regular coaching session with the person auditioning me. Literally like a week later, she's like, "Okay, they're really interested in working with you. Do you have time to come in for a screen test?" And that is like one of the things that I've never ever done in my life and I have no idea what it entails. And she's like, "You got to come in here in West Hollywood. We have a studio there and you're going to come in and basically just follow instructions." I'm like, "Okay." Showed up and was there for like 3 hours doing the screen test. Everything from just saying like, "Hi guys, my name is Dr. Tara and I'm a sex expert," like things like that, to having like a fake person. It's not really a fake, it's a real person doing sex therapy with them on TV, like on the screen. And then they do that person for an hour, another person for another hour. Then they pull out a computer and said, "Okay, can you watch these scenes and tell us what advice you would give them?" And it was like all Celebs Go Dating clips. But at that point, I didn't know yet it was this show, which is really interesting. But basically, after the screen test, the next day they're like, "They want you to come out to London in 3 weeks. Can you do that?"
Oh my god, amazing! And so, what was it
Yeah,
like meeting Anna and Paul for the first time? Because I presume you'd have seen Paul on Good Morning America, but for Anna,
yeah,
who's an institution here, you wouldn't have
yeah.
come across. So, what was it like for the first time that you met them and were like, "I'm in the house now in Holborn, and this is all a little bit weird."
I met Anna. I met Anna on Zoom because Anna is like this golden retriever of sunshine and rainbow that just runs or roam around the field and is just like one of the best people ever. She actually reached out to me and she said, "Hey, like I know that you're gonna be joining us. I'm so excited." This is through like WhatsApp before I got to England. And she's like, "If you want to Zoom and like, talk through anything, like I'm here." And so we met on Zoom and just instantly clicked and we became sisters. And I would like say like right now that she's one of my closest friends because we spend a lot of time, a lot of moments together. And then I was a little bit of afraid of Paul at first because a lot of the like TV moments of him have really been really serious. Like you don't really see goofy side of Paul until you meet him in person. So I watched like clips of Paul and I'm just like, "Ooh, he seems intense." But basically I showed up on the first day of filming and that's like when I met Paul. I really just fell in love with Paul because I was like, "Okay, now I get why." And now I get like the lore of Paul. Like why people, want to work with Paul, why they think he's so talented. It all makes sense because he's just very charming, very kind, very calm, and actually very goofy and fun. So it was really great. But my very first scene filming was with Tom because the very first scene was Tom picking me up like as a new person joining the agency. And I mean, Tom is otherworldly. I am also in love with Tom. So I'm basically in love with all of them. But Tom is like, he's like from the Shakespeare era. And he really talks like that all the time. So yeah, like that's just my very experience at Celebs Go Dating is a very rosy one. And I know that I'm very lucky.
And so then how does it all work? When you're in the office now and you're going, right, Anna and Paul, you're going to do Ella because Ella's here now, and you're going, okay, I'll
Mhm.
stay back in the office, and you're typing on a little laptop. What's actually going on behind the scenes at that point? What do you then do once they've left the door? And what are you always doing on your laptop?
Sometimes reviewing like what dates we're setting them up, because there's a whole like Google, not Google Doc, a whole like presentation about like what are the people, the deities that we're setting up with the celebrities. So reviewing those like deities profiles, sometimes reviewing some of the press things about the person, but mainly just reviewing deity profiles.
Do you actually involved in that? It's not all production who sort that. I just go, right, here you go, Dr. Tara. This is what you're going to be presenting today.
I'm personally not involved in casting.
So the cast is coming along, and what you look at the profiles and you whittle those castings down from like 10 to 5 and like go, cool, I'm just going to read up on that person.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, interesting. So then you bring
yeah.
it to the therapy room. Obviously, for Anna, for example, she knows a lot of those celebrities. She's been around, or
Hmm.
she was a showbiz reporter. For you, who has to take a step back and go, well, I obviously Mad at First Sight, Gogglebox, they're such niche shows and quite new still. What's it like for you to come in there and go, right, you are a celebrity, but also you are just like any of my other people that have come in to a therapy room and just been a client of mine. So balancing the client versus the celebrity.
There's no difference. For me, like whenever I'm in the therapy room, whether or not I'm with Anna or Paul, I act exactly the same that I would on, on in my private practice. Now, what you see on the screen is like a 5-minute version of a 1 hour session that we typically have. Those like therapy sessions can run between 45 minutes to 90 minutes. We have had some that were up to 90 minutes, and it's a really, really long deep dive. So when you see the 5 minutes, you see kind of whatever they want to edit in, that's going to be the most engaging for TV viewers. But when we do those sessions, it's very much focusing on their well-being and their knowledge and their awareness and how to help them. So I just do exactly the same things that I do in my private practice and just kind of let them use whatever part that they think is good for TV.
Well, that's the interesting thing. The TV versus the therapy. Once you're in that element and you're starting to talk, and it takes a while to warm up, and then you unravel, and then you unravel. And because the beauty of TV is that you can just keep it rolling, because you never know when you're going to get that golden moment. Whereas
Right.
you do therapy, and they go, right, we're at 45 minutes now, and you're going, well, I just want to tell this story really quick, and they're like, yeah, we're kind of running out of time. We're like, yeah, but I do want to tell you this bit because it's actually really important to the journey. Uh, how do you balance the fact of, yes, you're making a TV show, but also you've got really vulnerable celebrities sitting in front of you who actually do mentally and really need that help? And not that
Hmm.
it can be rushed, but also going, look, that bit's kind of the dramatization of it. That will make good TV, but also we're actually there to do a job as well. And for me and my morals and values, I've got to be authentic and actually help them through the process, even if it doesn't fit the TV side.
We all share the same value of like the well-being of the person we're working with comes first. So even if there is, a point of like really juicy, dramatic moment that we can kind of try to get more of it, we don't if we seem like if it seems like the celeb is very traumatized by those moments and is not ready to talk about it. Like we hold ourselves and our standards, like we're very professional in that sense. We don't really care too much about TV moments. We care about helping the celebs, and then we know that through therapy sessions there will be interesting moments that come out on TV. I find it quite easy to balance like the TV moment and the actual work moment because we don't have camera crews in the agency. It's all hidden cameras, like all little cameras. I assume I've never seen Big Brother, but I assume it's the same. Like the little cameras that
Well,
are
Big
around
Brother
the
is
house.
hidden all behind glass mirrors, whereas what you've got is like, here's a camera on the bookshelf, here's a camera above the
Yeah.
lights. You can see where the cameras are, whereas Big Brother,
You
you
can see,
literally
but there's
can't see
no
in it.
people. Cause like
Yeah.
when we film brunch, like all the brunches, there's a ton of people. Everyone's like on, like all the cameramen and people, camera people, they're on camera. There's a ton of people at those brunches.
And how does that
At
affect you doing that though? As a presenter, as a relationship expert, is that a shock to the system of when you're at the bunch going, oh my God, I'm on a TV set now? Whereas the other side is, it feels more organic for you because that's the room that you're used to.
It feels more organic at the agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when we're at brunch, it feels like we're filming a TV show.
What's the biggest thing that we need to look out for in the next couple of weeks? Like that, what's going to be that big moment that you're going to go, this is going to define Celebs dating for this year?
Mhm. I would say we have a really, really great finale. And I just can't wait for people to see it because that is the wrap up of like everyone's journey. And you can see very individual, very different point of ending for each person's journey versus I feel like last year it was kind of like a little bit lumped together.
Yeah.
This year, everyone has very distinctive road that they go on and where they end up at the end. I find it very interesting. I can't wait to watch the finale.
Well, I also, apart from the finale, I can't wait to watch every episode. It's on Monday to Thursday on E for Celebs Go Dating. Obviously, you've got your podcast, you've got all your 1,000 courses. Go and check out Dr. Tara online because she's so busy and there's so much to look at. And also, her TikToks are very, very good. Very good.
Thank you.
There's a lot of education I might take from them. You've been watching or listening to So Good Escape. If you love Celebs Go Dating like I do, there are episodes with Tom Red Wilson, with Paul C. Buzz, and Anna Williamson telling their mental health journeys, as well as loads of contestants over the years opening up, including Ella Morgan from this year. She was on last October when she'd done Married at First Sight. So go and check out that in the library now. And if you enjoy Skin and Skill on Instagram at Johnny Seifert 92, on TikTok at Johnny Seifert 92 is where you can find me. Let's keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. Check out Dr. Tara on TikTok. 2 million followers. Let's get her to 3 million. And click that subscribe button wherever you're watching or listening. It's so important that we keep spreading the word. It's okay to not be okay. I'm Johnny Seifert. Thanks so much for watching or listening. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.